But whenever I do talk about political events, I often call on Brandon Weichert to come onto the show. I'm so grateful for his presence in our national discourse, and I'm so grateful that he's become my friend. I've learned so much from him. He has written 3 books. One of them about Iran. It's called The Shadow War, Iran's Quest for Supremacy. I have it here somewhere on my set. Oh, yes, right next to me. That would be fitting, wouldn't it, for those of you watching? I'm holding it up. He is also the author of Biohacked, China's Race to Control Life, and Winning Space, How America Remains a Superpower. In addition to writing those 3 books, Brandon is a geopolitical analyst who is a subject matter expert for the United States Department of the Air Force, if you've heard of that, and an energy analyst at the-pipeline.com. Today with Brandon, we're going to be discussing the event of the Houthi rebels in Yemen launching drone and missile strikes, not only at Israel, but at commercial vessels in the Red Sea. In fact, this is the cover story today of the Wall Street Journal, so it is an especially prescient time to talk about this. Brandon, welcome to the Dennis Prager Show. Great to see you.
Well, thanks for having me back, and thank you for that lovely intro. I am honored as well at our friendship, and so here's to many more interviews. The Houthi rebel threat is not an isolated threat. Your audience should be aware that this is one of the many tentacles that the Iranians have, that they're reaching out to do damage not only to Israel and the Saudis, but more importantly to ourselves. And this is part of their, as my subtitle suggests, their quest for supremacy in Iran.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people listening may say, okay, Julie, you and Brandon are foreign policy nerds, but what do the Houthis in Yemen have to really do with our international state today? But as you said, they are one of the tentacles, not just of the Iranian regime, but as I would venture to say, and I think you would agree with me, of the Chinese Communist Party, because the CCP headed by Xi Jinping is really all powerful, unfortunately, and is pulling a lot of strings here in our international state. So let's dive in here specifically with this Houthi threat. The Houthis are a rebel group in Yemen, as I understand. Are they Sunni? Are they Shia? How did this conflict emerge? Just give us a history on how this came to be.
Well, they are Shiite Muslim, and they are aligned closely with Iran because of that shared religious interpretation, and that actually puts them at odds not only with the dominant group in Yemen, but also with the Saudis right next door. This is what we're experiencing with the Houthis is basically an extension, a long-running failure that was started under the Obama administration. Former President Obama in 2009, I remember, was hailing his Yemen policy as a success, but actually all he did was set the stage for a horrible civil war that allowed for Iran to move in and empower the Houthis, forcing the Saudis to then come in and empower the Sunni groups on the ground, in some cases Al-Qaeda. And now you've got this proxy war that's been raging in Yemen for almost a decade. The worst humanitarian crisis outside of Syria is in Yemen. And Iran is the instigator of this. And so now they're using the Houthis. They've trained them up. They've had them battle the Saudis and learn how to fight, a larger enemy. And now they're using the Houthis as proxies to fight both Israel and the United States, and they're targeting our shipping, which they believe the Americans under Biden will not do anything to protect, and thus far that assumption has sadly been proven right.
We talk about this a lot when you come on to Timeless, how different the world would be had the 1979 revolution in Iran not happened. Isn't it amazing to contemplate that Iran just a few decades ago was not only pro-American, but pro-Israel. And now it is transformed into this vehemently anti-Israel country, which is such an expert of evil as to stretch its tentacles, as you say, all across the Middle East and empower even a rebel group here in Yemen to carry out these drone strikes and missile strikes in the Red Sea. We only have a
Right.
few seconds more in this segment, so we're going to have to pick it up in the next segment. But I want to understand, you can speak to this a little bit, what exactly is going on in the Red Sea and how this matters, how this fits into United States and Israeli interests.
Well, basically, this allows for Iran to continue to destabilize the region, weakens America, weakens Israel, empowers themselves, and allows for them to move in with the Chinese and the Russians backing their play, which is the ultimate goal, to knock out the Americans as the dominant power in the Middle East.